Once a girl gets, or a guy gets taken, 24, 48 hours, do they always want rescuing, and they're so happy to find it, to get out of that?
It depends on how they were groomed up to that point. If they were groomed because I told you how much I loved you and you were so special to me and your family's rotten, if they really loved you, they'd let you do whatever you want. It depends on that process. That person might not say, rescue me immediately. But one of my survivors, she was picked up in a very bad situation by someone who looked like he should be help. Respectable, good looking, no problem, car looks fine. She's in a very bad area, and so he picks her up, takes her home to her apartment, and she was just gotten her first job, so she was still under, I think she was still under 18, and he doesn't touch her, he doesn't do anything. He said, tomorrow, I'm gonna go to Seattle for my family reunion. You wanna come with me? Well, sure, I'll come with you. So she hops in the car going to Seattle for the family reunion. When they get to Seattle, she says, he says, we're gonna stop at a hotel. She said, well, why do we stop at a hotel? Well, because he's trained, he's got a great line, right? He says, well, you know, there's gonna be 1,000 people at the house. I'm just gonna put you here so you have rest and you don't have to worry about everybody and blah, blah, blah. So he gets her into the hotel room. He has a duffel bag with him. He takes the duffel bag, he dumps it out on the bed, he ties her to a chair, he dyes her hair blonde, has an outfit for her to wear, takes her down to the street, dumps her on the street, tells her what she's gonna do, and some person, as she's crying hysterically, bought her. So because they don't care if this person is willing or not. It's almost a thing if she's not.
Well, she's an inanimate object.
Yeah.
But she's a commodity for their profit.
If she's fighting, there's certain people who actually prefer that. Yeah. It's just so sad.
So there's really two sides to this. One, well, there's the victim. There's this person that is betraying their trust and building everything on deception. But then you got the customers, those individuals, those Johns, that are willing to pay them money to abuse these kids.
So, hooray, Washington State, we have a law that's maybe a year and a half old now, that you can get 12 years for trafficking a child or being with a child. Oregon, within the last month, has first offense, soliciting a minor, $10,000, second offense, $20,000, third offense, $20,000, and time in jail. And Texas, I don't know how anybody feels about the death penalty, but if you get caught with a child in Texas, you are on death row. Because it's serious. For a person to take a child who is under 18 years of age, even one day under, I say even 3 years older. I mean, what is the 18 magic number in our society? Why is that the magic number? We have a child who does not know what they're doing, has being taken, and now we're using them sexually. It is our disgrace.
What's the consequence for the John, the guy who hires one of these underage kids?
Well, that's what I was starting. That's the John. That's the John, so the 10,000, 20.
Okay, versus the pimp.
The pimp, that's a whole nother deal. If they find a pimp and they can convict him, but they have to have somebody to testify. And these girls are scared to death because they've already been told their family is going to be killed. So, I mean, they've already been told, don't go to the police. We're going to come back and kill all your family. We're going to, I mean, they're beaten every day. These girls are absolutely victims, total victims of violence.
And not just physically or sexually. Emotionally, mentally, and psychologically. It sounds like just their insides, the intangible scars, like I like to call them, there's so much there that a recovery program would need to be intense and long for that to heal. Those are the kind of scars I think that children have a hard time getting over.
Absolutely.
And parents as well. The bond that a child and parent have when something like that comes in. I'm not an expert in this area and I wouldn't know, but it seems to me that it would be much easier to go through the rehabilitation process of a rape than the emotional and psychological severance of the parent-child relationship. I mean, you hear a lot about a guilty complex where the child may feel like they're the reason that this has happened.
Absolutely.
And how do you get over that? You can't tell them every single day and have it be effective if that is something that they're internally struggling with.
And then who do they go back to? I mean, all of it is huge. We've got, in September, we'll have a house set up in Northeast Portland. We need more homes that will take these kids. It is not easy. It is not easy. And it can, like you say, it can be dangerous. You have a commodity that you're now housing. Depending on how much that commodity makes per year, the average one girl makes $200,000 a year for every pimp. He has 4 or 5 girls in the stable, and it's all tax-free. How do you beat that? And then you bring her off the street, and she may be tortured and stuff while she's being, verbally abused, emotionally abused, but she also is getting everything she could possibly want materially.
I was just going to say something like that, is that drugs are drugs. You can have a dog sniffing drugs, and they're drugs. You can have a test for it. But how do you test a girl and say 100% she's being abused? I mean, there's no physical evidence if she says she's not, and the pimp or John that we all know are Pimp and John, if they say, no, she's not, she's just my girlfriend, or no, she's my maid, or whatever it may be, it's not as easy or it's concrete like drugs are.
The nice thing is both of these laws in Washington and Oregon state that you as an adult cannot say, I didn't know how old they were. It is now your responsibility. We're not going to let you off the hook because of that.
When you rescue a girl or a guy, do they stay rescued, or do they sometimes go back?
Oh, absolutely, they go back. They say
why would they go back to I mean, if they've been beat, they've been threatened, all of that, why in the world would they go back?
Part of it is money. Because when I get a girl off the street, she's used to having everything she wanted, and now I'm going to say, okay, you need to get a job. Well, she's been trafficked for years. What are you going to put on her resume? She has no resume. Her schooling is bad. We don't have any schooling. We can't do anything, period. We don't even know really probably computer all that well. I mean, these girls have been isolated from their own normal culture for a long time now. And I say to them, okay, well, we know we can get you a job at McDonald's. Well, at McDonald's, they could work all month and make what they made in one night. So that is tough.
What are the 3, I'm thinking there are 3 end final destinations where this leads. It leads to either murder, depression and suicide,
yes,
or they become a source of babies for feeding into the system. Is there more, or are those?
Disease. Disease is a huge one. Feeding babies into the system is great, but probably what you don't realize is they feed babies into the system to the traffickers.
So they want kids that young?
Yeah. And then they grow them to a certain age, and then they,
So is there, go ahead.
I was going to say there's pedophiles out there that opens a whole new dynamic on this issue.
Part of what no one wants to know. Part of what no one wants to know. Plus we're not just dealing with trafficking, we're dealing with child porn. I mean, there's a whole nother billion dollar industry. So we've got that happening, and then the kids can be used for that. It's it's just really sad.
So let's suppose you rescue a girl, and she has been just psychologically really messed up. How do you help her?
Well, the first thing you have to do is make sure that before you can do anything that they're drug free, right? So we have to get them detoxed, and that takes however long that takes using the right medical people. Then they throw them into good counseling. And then usually the counselors, when they get done with certain girls, they'll give them to me or another organization like Call to Rescue for further rehabilitation. And we just meet with them and we help them through all the loops and hoops of getting through, getting your children back, getting an apartment, finding a job. Then that would fall to different nonprofit organizations to help those girls do that.
Can they be reintegrated back into their original family successfully?
Yeah, a lot of them are, and it's great.
How do they deal with it? They must suffer with guilt. How do they deal with the guilt?
Well, mom and dad have to get over that. Absolutely.
What about the girl?
The girl, actually, the girl, I have an easier time usually with the girl than mom and dad, because if I'd been a good parent, would she ever been taken? You go through all that. Really, parents struggling with this. And then the girl, somewhat, but I haven't run into a whole lot of that because they self-identify immediately.
What do you mean?
If I'm on the street and I'm going into a public place and I'm going to be with 20 to 30 people a night, so I can walk in, do what I'm told to do, and walk out. And not remember who that person was, what they look like, or even where I was. There has to become a self-identification or you can't do it. Or you would have the suicide thing a lot earlier in the
Again,
scenario.
I'm still trying to get clarification what a self-identification is. Okay, that sounds like you're just simply masking things off to become a zombie.
You do, absolutely. Emotions shut down. We don't remember who we're with, don't remember what the situation was, we don't care. We have to mask that completely off so that, and that's part of the rehabilitation, is getting her to trust and feel and
in other words, to
again.
become a person again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
In comparison to turning off your mental faculties.
Absolutely. And of course, we deal with that in any child that's abused, any woman that has domestic violence. You run into the same thing, where you look at them and you say, well, how are you doing? And they don't really cry. You know, their
emotions are gone?
Yeah, they just tell the story. This is what happened, blah, 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 blah.
Sounds like an innate coping mechanism,
mm-hmm.
a self-preservation mechanism.
Wow. So we're aware of the problem.
Yes, we are.
This is a dark side we don't want to talk about. But what do we do to help the situation? How do we prevent it? And how do we help those people and how do we become involved? So what? What do we do?
So tell me, help me.
Yeah.
So Call to Rescue is here to help you.
Okay.
And you can come to training, awareness training. We do at least once a month in all kinds of different areas up and down the I-5 corridor. And we just tell you what to look for, what the street language is, what you might see, how you would identify a building that held a bunch of girls, all kinds of interesting things like that. We also teach you self-defense, how to stay safe. And then, of course, we're starting Mama Bear training, where we learn how to be a little more aggressive and not be afraid of feeling, no, I am gonna take care of my kids.
So for us guys, we don't relate to the mama bear thing, but we think of a mom bear that's been robbed of her cubs. We get that part.
We get
that mom's going to fight to the death to protect those, and you better stay away from that. So you're recommending that parents take a very proactive, responsible role to defend their kids, watch out for their kids, and stand up to somebody who may be a threat to their kids.
Yeah. And you know, I was on the street Friday night looking for a girl with her mom, her dad, grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends.
You mean somebody was just taken Friday night, locally here in Clark
Vancouver,
County?
Yeah. And first thing I do is check downtown Portland. But being with the parents, if I could have every person on the face of the earth be able to see mom and dad's face as they're looking and searching with their eyes up and down the streets, up and down the alleys, trying to see their little girl, I'm telling you, we would not have any more missing children. We have to understand the emotion that has to rack our being toward the protection of our children, and we need to all become, even the men, mama bears.
Yeah.
You've got to become very proactive in saving your own children.
You said you had an 800 number. Can you give that?
It's not an 800 number,
You have
but
a
it's a
phone number.
hotline number. Yeah.
Well, if we're-
360-901-0390.
One more time.
360-901-0390.
Okay. Do you have a website?
I do. Calltorescue.org.
Okay. Called, past tense.
ED, called, C-A-L-E-D.
And you have an email address?
Yep. Cyndi.calltorescue@gmail.com.
Cyndi with an I?
Oh no, it couldn't. My mother couldn't make it that easy. Yeah, CYNDI, CYNDI.
Okay.
calltorescue@gmail.com.
Okay.